All right, folks, welcome back to the podcast, One Man, One Tree to Hill. I'm your host. I almost forgot. I'm your host, Jared Waters. I have a special guest, a blast from the past with blast from the future, black business owner, everything, Miss Adrienne Hughes, a.k.a. now Miss Southwell. How are you, madam?
Hey, I'm good. I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm swell. We're in Hawaii, yes?
Yes, I'm in Hawaii.
6 hours behind us.
Yeah.
What's the pulse in Hawaii? How's everything? First, you said you're not having supper, right?
I don't know why you're giving me so much crap about this.
Because I'm figuring out like where we're gonna go to your origin, but like supper, I'm from the South, so it's dinner.
Yeah.
So supper. How have you always said supper? Or is it like you've adapted supper?
No, I kind of say whatever. Dinner, supper.
But
I'm
when you
not.
said supper, I was like, man, who, what part of the world is
I
Japan?
adapt to everything. So, been around a lot of different people.
Yeah. So what's the pulse like in Hawaii right now? Are you guys quarantined or done being quarantined? Or are you guys
We
free?
They're starting to open up stuff. I think tomorrow they're opening up gyms and movie theaters
Oh
and some
wow.
other things, but it's still like most of our jobs out here are tourist based, so most of the hotels are closed and all that stuff. We still have a 14-day quarantine for travelers. So
So as soon as they come, they gotta turn around and go back home.
basically you like if you come out here, you have to stay in your hotel for the whole time you're here unless you're staying longer than 2 weeks, basically.
Dang, that sucks. That economy is gonna take a hit for you guys.
Yeah, it's not looking good, so pray for
Well,
us.
how long have you been in Hawaii for?
I've been here since 2007.
Jeez
So,
Louise.
mhm.
Well, let's go back. Let's go back before we get to Hawaii. We met 2003,
Yeah.
2003. We met when we were in high
Mhm.
school. Let's go
Yep.
before that. Where are you born?
I was born in Oakland, California.
Really, you're from the Bay?
Mhm. Yep.
Dang, do it for the Bay. So you grew up in Oakland, California, two-parent household, one-parent household. How was it?
Um 2 to 1, and then right before my mom moved us out to Japan after the divorce, basically.
So you stayed in Oakland how long? So you were in Oakland till
So
like
I was 8 years old.
you went to Japan at 8 years old?
Mhm.
Do you have any memories of Oakland? Do you have any memories of like growing up in
Um
Cali, or do you?
I do. I have a little bit. It's kind of fuzzy, Um I have memories of like hanging out with my cousins. And stuff like that, and kind of going to school a little bit, but I don't remember too much. Most of my memories are from Japan.
Your dad? Do you have memories of your dad being there? Do you have good
A
memories of that?
little bit, not too much. I do remember like going over to his house after the divorce and hanging out with my grandma, and she would teach us how to she had raspberries and blackberries in her yard, and she would teach us how to like make jam and stuff like that. Nice little black lady.
So you're
So
very, so you do have vivid memories. Was dad in your life a lot, or was it hard connecting, moving to Japan?
um I think being the older sibling, I don't know, maybe that's just me, but I was old enough to understand what was going on, and so I kind of like sided with my mom a little bit
Well,
on
you're eight,
things.
so that's like what, third grade,
Yeah,
second grade, third grade.
second, third grade, yeah. And so like I loved my grandmother, so like I kind of kept it cool with my dad so I could see her almost, but with him it was kind of on the rocks, I would say.
On the rocks from your very early
Yeah.
beginning, from what your memory
Mhm.
was.
Yeah.
Do you have any early memories of like kindergarten at 5? Do you remember what that was like?
Um, Kind of. I have this vivid memory of like getting kicked in the face with a soccer ball.
Jesus
So
Christ.
that's that. I mean, that's probably why I remember it, right? And but that's pretty much it.
Eight, you go to Cali, and do you think you felt the effects of the divorce early? Did you feel that way? Did you like notice that your mom's raising both of you guys?
Yeah. I mean, we were kept busy with like, I had like swim practice and had all these different things, whatever. And then once we moved to Japan, I definitely felt it more. But we kind of had a, can I swear on this podcast? Is that
Yeah,
is that allowed?
Say whatever you want. This is free to the people. That's
Okay,
when people do get on the podcast like, Jerry, can I curse? I'm like, curse, do it. I know you don't curse. I'm like, do what you want.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta be respectful,
Yeah, do as you feel. It's for adults.
So when I moved to Japan, it was kind of like a girl's house, like kind of like a men ain't shit type situation, and so so that's kind of how we rolled, and that's kind of how we still are almost.
How apart are you and your sister?
4 years.
That's a big jump.
Mm-hmm.
Did you feel like the older sister always, like the protector? Because it's completely different. What part of Japan did y'all move to? What city?
We technically we were in Chiba, which was we lived like 10 minutes away from Disneyland, if that helps you.
Tokyo Disney.
Mm-hmm.
But Tokyo Disney is not even near Tokyo.
It's not in Tokyo, no.
At all.
It's
super far. But what was your mom doing to go to Japan? What field was she in?
She's kind of done a few different things, but she worked for HR for Merrill Lynch at the time in Cali.
Why does that name sound familiar?
Merrill Lynch was like I don't know, it's like a super fancy company back in the day, I feel like. But and I don't really know what they do. But basically, she asked them, or they asked her, like, hey, we have positions, across the world. Would you be interested? And I think it was like China, Japan, and somewhere else. And then she picked Japan. So that's how we ended up there.
What a culture difference. Because when we met like 2003, maybe 2003, 2002. But when we met you guys, we're like, what type of black people are these people? These guys are super smart. Everyone at your school, ASIJ, were like, the smart kids.
I know.
We're like, you guys weren't military people, because most of the military, we had like dumb people. Some like military people were like not as bright.
Yeah, I remember one of our guys went from our school to a base school, and all of a sudden he's like, yeah, I'm getting like straight A's. I'm like the smartest kid here. I'm like, yo, what the hell? Like, you are not that smart over here. So
yeah, you guys are like strict, and everybody spoke Japanese. We're like, look how smart these girls are. They're like super smart.
Yep, that's right.
Like when we came out there, they're just like, wow, these are like the closest thing to Americans as possible.
That's right. Rep at ASIJ.
So you get to Japan. What's it like? Give me through the first moments of just being 8 years old. Do you understand you're in a different country? Do you understand that? Do you feel it?
Yeah, like right before we moved out, my mom bought us these like flashcards with Japanese writing and stuff on them. She's like, here, like, let's learn this stuff. And so I don't think I learned much before we got out there, but it was kind of like an intro. And then we get out there. We were in the suburbs, so it wasn't like, there was definitely no foreigners around. I think there was like, maybe the second year I was there was like a Mormon family that moved into the neighborhood. And like, that was it.
Probably like 12 of them, huh?
Yeah, so I was definitely the only black person in the area for a long time. I don't even think there's any black people around there now.
What did that feel like, though? What did that feel like being the only black person in that part of town? Did you feel
I think I was too young to feel it. And also, my mom's white, so like that already, I'm already used to that. Yeah.
Wow, I did not know that.
I feel like you should know these things about me, by the way.
No, I thought it was the opposite way, because you never show pictures of your mother. Always, you never had pictures of your mom. That's why I always thought your dad. I never knew that, because you never had pictures of your mom. So I was like, man, this black dude just moved their family all the way out to Japan.
No.
Or like, we asked questions. When I asked questions about your mom, you never spoke about your mom. That's why I was like, man, these people are like biracial people. Never really say that much information.
Well, we have secrets, so.
So I guess I thought it was the opposite way. I don't know why I thought it was the opposite way.
Yeah, no, you would. Some people don't even think I'm half, because I'm light skinned, but I'm like dark, like not that light. You know what I mean? And I like to tan. you know, when I can. So I keep it dark. So
That's a whole nother thing. Her raising two black daughters, like what was that? Probably was a whole lot tougher on her.
Yeah, luckily for her, one of her best friends is black, so I think she got a lot of hair tips when we were in Cali for sure. You know, she had to thank Jesus for that. And then when we were in Japan, my hair was a mess for a while, but somehow we got connected to somebody that had like a hair salon on it's like it was like a base, but not really. Like a regular person could still go into the salon, you know. So from like maybe sophomore year on, I was able to get my hair braided, and I was like, I found my people, like, finally.
Let's go back before sophomore year. Let's go to
Yes.
what is your elementary school like? So
okay,
I was never aware of like what ASIJ was. What does it stand for?
American School in Japan, super simple. But I wasn't there. I was there from middle school, halfway through middle school. So when I first got to Japan, my mom put us in the local public school, Japanese public school. And my first year, I had to redo third grade, basically, because the school year is different.
Yeah.
Right. So we got there and it was like almost the end of their school year, or like almost the beginning of their school year, I think it was. And they're like, well, you know, you can't speak the language, so there's nothing we can really do. We have to teach you the language. So my first year, all I did was math class and Japanese class.
When did you become fluent?
Probably like a year and a half in, it like clicked. Because I mean, I had to, you know, it was like nobody there. There was like one teacher that could speak broken English enough to communicate with me, and everybody else couldn't speak it. So like, it was tough. Yeah.
Did the children try to like help you? Were they trying to like slow it down? Were they trying to?
Like there were some that they would try to help a little bit, I guess. But then you have, not only am I a foreigner, but I'm a black girl. So which they've probably never seen in their life, you know, so that was a whole nother thing with them. I had one friend, still friends to this day, and she lived like a couple blocks over, and so she would help me out until it fully clicked in. So.
Do you still have it now? Are you still fluent, or did you lose a bit?
I'm still fluent. I probably have lost like the writing side of it, because I don't really write Japanese for anything. I can type it into like Microsoft Word, and it can do the characters for me, you know what I mean? But actually handwriting it is a little bit more difficult these days.
Like everybody, when we were out there, I was like, they all speak Japanese.
Well, you know what? Not necessarily. Okay, there was a lot of like half kids there, like half Japanese, half whatever, that couldn't even speak as well as I could speak, which I was very proud of, by the way.
You guys knew like signs. We would like get on the train. We get mad lost. We know where we're going. We're like stuck in Shibuya somewhere.
I know. See, you guys had like the fake Japanese experience, I feel like.
Well, we got off base a lot. So when we finally, I think it's because it was so heavy Americanized. You know,
right.
On the base,
exactly.
We kind of all gravitated towards each other because we were all just like kind of alone. But when we went off base, it was like, let's go to Roppongi. Let's go.
Yep.
Full force. They can't tell that we're not 18.
It was crazy that, I think back now and I'm like, wow, we were really in those streets as like 15, 16-year-old kids.
14-year-olds, wild.
Yeah, like
partying with like adults and 25-year-olds.
I can never imagine like allowing my child to do some of the things that we were doing.
In a foreign country,
it's
there was
crazy.
One dude at our school who he got in trouble because he fought a Yakuza member.
Oh my God.
He didn't know. He beat him up. Of course. They tagged his car, and he could never bring his car off base. Yeah, he could never bring his car off base at all. He started beating up some random guy. Next you know, it was a Yakuza member, and every time that car got off base, pep, 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 pep.
Yep.
Do you get a sense of loneliness when you're out in another country, because you're the first one? Your sister probably adapted faster than you because she's 4.
Yeah, she, like, we had my mom had the opposite problem with her. Like, she was so young when we went over that her first language is basically Japanese. And so part of the reason why we ended up like I said, I went to the Japanese public school, and then a couple years in, my mom transferred us to not ASJ, but it was like another international school. It was like a smaller one. But she did that so that we would learn English again, basically.
So no one spoke. So you and your sister spoke Japanese, and what, your mother spoke Japanese too, or she learned?
Like she did her best. Like she didn't really have to do. I think she had more English speaking people at her company, so she learned enough to get through when she had to speak to Japanese people. But she wasn't necessarily fluent, I wouldn't say. But yeah, I mean, like I didn't lose my English speaking language or anything like that. But my sister definitely was about to. So that's which is super weird. But yeah, so that's why she was like, okay, I'm going to put both of you in international schools now. And then the school that I was at only went up to like 7th or 8th grade anyways. So they were like, okay, you should go try ASJ. Or actually, I tested for St. Mary's first.
Oh, yeah,
and apparently I wasn't smart enough to go to that school. I was like, you know what? I don't need you people anyways. So those people, like ASJ is bad, I feel like, as far as like rich elite people go, but St. Mary's takes the top for sure. So I'm fine.
Well, do you remember? So you're making your first friend. What is that like? Do you remember the emotions? Or like, I finally met someone that I could talk to, or?
Yeah, I mean, it was, I think.
How old were you when you met your first friend in Japan? That wasn't.
It was probably that first year, when I was 8. And she, like I said, I think it was like almost they tagged her onto me, like she lived in my neighborhood, kind of a thing. It's like, okay, let's walk home together. But like, I love her family. They're super nice. And, we remain friends now. So it wasn't any kind of,
what were the
sympathy friendship.
What was like the cross-cultural things that she had questions? Because you're probably the first Black person she met before.
Oh yeah, definitely. I don't really remember if she necessarily, like she later on in our life, she would ask me, like how to say, like she would basically ask me to teach her English and stuff. And I don't know. There was not her, but like definitely in the school, there would be like the whole like, oh, can I touch your hair? Because I've never, whatever, seen this kind of hair before type stuff that went on. But that's, that's just
how did that make you feel?
Anyways.
Right, yeah. Because I think being in Japan, it's like a completely different culture. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's easier to stand out like as a Black person in Japan than being a Black person in Alabama.
For sure. Yeah, like I said, definitely the only Black people in our neighborhood, at least while I was there. And but I think in Japan, it's more like you're just a foreigner in general than it is that you're a Black person. So that kind of helps.
And they kind of group you like Americans too. They're just
it's like you're an English speaker type. That's the group basically. So it wasn't that bad. And once I was able to speak the language, I could call people out on stuff anyways. And then they're like, oh my God, like we had no idea. So
walk me through the time where you had to say something to somebody. What was happening like that?
Well, I remember one time, like I was on the train and with a couple of my friends, I think it was in like middle or high school. And, obviously, again, I don't look like I'm Asian in any kind of way. But because I learned the language so young, I don't have like a foreigner's accent when I speak Japanese. I sound like a Japanese person. So I overheard some people basically like kind of talking shit about the foreigners being loud and whatever on the train. And so I basically, looked at them and was like, spoken Japanese, like, oh, sorry about that. Like, and then they're just like, oh my gosh, I'm like, yeah, I can understand you. So, and I mean, that's been kind of like my little superpower, up until now, where people just don't know that I can speak it. So they'll say whatever in front of you, and sometimes
people don't realize that we've lived these alternate universe lives where we're just like
Right.
not typical the American experience. And
Mhm.
I understand. I was thinking about that. My friend Joe, you remember Joe? Me and Joe were talking about like how
Mhm.
Japanese people were probably thinking like these Americans are so full of themselves. These
Right.
Americans come to our country and don't even try to speak Japanese. They're asking in
Right.
English for directions. That is the most
Mhm.
disrespectful thing, you know. Imagine someone asking for us directions and they're just like,
Yeah.
what is this?
Mhm.
So I sometimes when I think about Japan as a culture, they're more like intrigued with the difference,
Yeah, like
not in a
they're not.
racist way. They're just
It's
more
not
intrigued.
racist. It's
They
more
want to
like,
learn more.
yeah, there's more interest. And like, again, whenever I start speaking, I automatically have to tell them my life story now because they really want to know how it's possible that I can speak Japanese so well. And I'm like, the amount of times that I've had to tell a stranger my life story, I could be rich if I had $1 for every time, you know. So
So that one friend. So you make that one friend. What's her name again?
hmm her name is Yuri.
Yuri. So Yuri. So
hmm
you guys are back in elementary school. Does Yuri
hmm
open up the friendship pod like after you become her, or is it just you and her against the
uh
world?
it she, like, I definitely got to know like her friends through her, kind of a thing, but I was always the closest with her
Mm-hmm.
specifically. And but it was nice because she kind of took me under her wing and like spread me around to the friend group, kind of a thing. And so I didn't feel like it was just me anymore. And even after I went to a different school, because I was only there for a couple of years, but even when I went to a different school, I would still hang out with her and her friends and stuff when I was in the neighborhood. So that was
That's a
cool.
long friendship. That's like a 25-year friendship.
Yeah.
You really think
Mhm.
about it. It's 25 years.
Yep.
Just solid friendship.
Mhm.
So you make a friend, then we get to middle school. And the middle school is when you're back with more Americans, or were you finding Americans
Yeah.
throughout your?
Not yeah, not really. Like when I went to middle school, that was like the first time really that I was making friends with
How did that
Americans.
feel though when you start hearing English again? Do you feel like weird a little bit, like whoa?
Yeah, it definitely. I mean, it was weird to not have constant Japanese all the time, but it was nice because I didn't have to work as hard as well. And but also like I was finally able to learn in English as well, and so that was nice, because I got to learn a whole different, like in Japanese school you learn about Japanese stuff, kind
Right?
of, you know, and so now I'm finally learning about American stuff, I guess, or other worldly stuff, um, and so
Do you find that our education is kind of like jaded compared to their education is more strict? They're more strict.
it is, yeah.
More strict, rigorous. We're
Mhm.
kind of like we can kind of like BS around with it and talk
Definitely.
ourselves out of an assignment.
Well, I mean, like I said, like we know, ASJ wasn't really those type of people. Like whenever I came to college and I talked to people and they're like, oh yeah, like I ditched class and like I did all these things. And I'm like, excuse me, what? Like, sorry? I don't understand what that means because that wasn't even a thought in my brain that I
It
could
was a
even accomplish
tuition
that.
school, right? You guys had to pay a
Yeah, like
tuition
we
of
had
like
to pay like my and
$30,000 or something.
I don't even want to know. But my mom was like, well, and most of the students there, I think, anyways, their parents were expats, so the companies were paying for the schooling for their kids.
Well, walk us back through there for the people who don't know. What is an X-Pac?
So expats are like it's basically what my mom was when we first moved there.
Mm-hmm.
So like the company pays for you to move out, they pay for your housing and usually the schooling depending on how high up you are in the company. And so that's why a lot of kids had like these sick houses, you know.
Yeah,
And I was never at home. I was like, can I come to your house? But because, so my mom, when we moved there for the first, she was only supposed to stay for like 2 or 3 years. So and then we decided we liked it here. And since it's such a safe place for kids and everything, and her being a single mom, she's like, okay, let's just stay here. So she had to quit her job and find a new one for us to stay.
really?
Yeah, so we weren't technically expats anymore at that point.
So where did she work?
I don't even remember. It was another like finance firm or something like that. She's a CPA now, so she does those kind of things. But so yeah, so she got a job, thankfully, but so she had to pay out of pocket for our school, and so that's why I live so far away as well. Like we didn't live inside Tokyo because we couldn't afford it.
Right.
Like I mean, people get paid a decent amount of money in Japan. Like it's not like anyone was poor, but you also work like 13-hour days as well,
Very long schedules.
Right. So, which again was probably why I was out in Roppongi all the time, because I had no parental supervision. Sorry, Mom. But
it was kind of a different. I really think that the people who grew up in Japan for a while, they really were raised by their friends.
Same.
Like a group of friends of just like,
I agree.
Like when I went to college, people didn't understand the way I spoke and stuff like that until they heard my friend, like, dang, he speaks just like you.
Really? That's okay. I mean,
it's not a traditional accent. You're blending wherever you're from.
Yes, exactly. Adapting to like the accents around you, and that's why like I always tell people like I have this unspoken bond with anybody that I've met in Japan, regardless of like how long it's been.
Yeah.
Just because I know and you know how that I know like what our lives were like.
It's the feeling. It's the feeling of just. That's why I tell us, like, sometimes you just don't understand that if I can meet somebody, I'll stop what I'm doing. Like, oh, you guys are in New York? Come hit me. Hit me up.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think it was one time I was at driving in Florida, and I was just going to get my tires changed. And I ran into somebody I went to high school with, and no one understood why that was a big deal. I was like, we went to high school in Japan. There's no reason why we should just randomly bump into each other randomly in these different places.
Because people moved all over the world after high school, so it's like you almost are jealous of people that went to high school in their hometown with their same friends, and they can go home to go see those same people, but like we don't have that.
And I think it's some people who grew up in the States. Sometimes like I met a guy one time, and he told me like the first time he met a white person that wasn't his teacher when he was 21 years old. I was like, really?
Wow.
I was like, I grew up with like different cultures, different religions, different everything else. So what was that like for you? Because you didn't have the traditional experience. So when people asked you, where were you from? How did you answer that question?
Yeah, I still don't really know how to answer that question because, you don't
have a home, really.
Well, it depends on how in-depth of a conversation I want to get into. If I don't have time today, then I'll say California, because that's a lot easier for people to understand. But for the most part, it's like born in California, raised in Japan. That's how I put it.
What was it like in high school? Like, were you a popular person, or was it everything else? Because I felt like everybody knew you. Like when we went out there, I was like, man, these girls are so popular.
Well, I mean, I did sports, so I will say like that. I wouldn't call myself a jock by any means. Like I was kind of, I did sports just because I wanted to be with my friends after school. Like
you could call yourself a jock. I think you could go ahead and say
okay, I don't know.
Y'all are jocks. What type of jocks hang out at wrestling meets? Those are jocks.
Look,
jocks. That's what they are.
Like I said, okay, I didn't have anything better to do. Okay, so I like watching sports, I guess, or I like watching my friends play sports. Wrestling was questionable, but I was summoned to watch that. So, but anyways, yeah, I mean, I hung out with like all different types of people. Like I had friends in like band and friends that did theater and whatever. I think I kind of was used to like trying to get to know whoever and have a mesh of friends. I never wanted to be in just one specific group of people.
Were there a lot of groups at the school? Like, was it?
Yeah, I mean, it's weird. Like, people would be friends with, like, depending on where they lived. I don't know if it... So, you would have, like, the group of people that live... There was a small group of people where their parents were teachers, so they all lived right around the school.
Mm-hmm.
So they were like a crew. And then you had the kids that lived in the Hidol area. It was like kind of the richy suburb area, right? So you had those people that were friends with each other. I guess just because you're close to each other, you can hang out easier. I don't know. So something like that. And then you had like the regular like theater kids. Band, not so much, I don't think. I don't know. Maybe I wasn't paying attention. But, and then we kind of had this group, like mixed group of my friends where we were just friends in general, and it didn't really have anything to do with where we lived or anything like that.
There's like 6 degrees of separation. Like there's
yeah.
like Tony, I forget, I remember Tony, and I remember
there
was another one.
Well, and then Tony was only with us for like a year, I think. Only freshman year? Did she leave sophomore year? I can't remember. But she wasn't there the whole time. That was another thing too with ASJ. People came and went like every year. So that kind of sucked.
Yeah, they're like the wrestler or like football team. I was like, I'm surprised they have a football team.
Yeah, so were we. They weren't the greatest. But see, we would have volleyball games on the days that there would be football games sometimes. So that's why I was around mostly. But also I just needed something to do on the weekends half the time. And because no one lived by me, because I lived all the way out in the boonies, basically, according to everybody, that was my only way of like hanging out with people.
Well, so your sister growing up, since she's 4 years younger than you, was she by herself a lot as well?
Yeah. Well, we had a babysitter. I think for the whole time we were there. Depends on who you ask. If you ask me, I would say no. If you ask my mom, she would say yes, probably. But no, like, so yes and no. I was kind of like, once I got older and once I was like going out and stuff, it was definitely just for my sister. And I was like, okay, I'll be back maybe tomorrow.
You respect the trust that your mother had for you?
Did I respect what?
Did you respect the trust that your mother had for you? That's a big responsibility, letting you like, she kind of trusted you not to get in trouble, to hang out.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I
big
have always been super responsible as far as like making sure I knew what my game plan was. Like, since I live so far away, I couldn't really get into too much trouble anyways, because the last train is like at midnight.
Right.
To get to my house. So it was literally either I take the last train or I have to find someone's house to crash at. So either way, I was taken care of. Most of the time I took the last train, which kind of sucked because again, it's like right when people are starting to come out anyways. And then I'm like, okay guys, gotta go home. Bye. And then
was your mother, was she a disciplinary type of person or? Like, did she date throughout high school? Like when you're in high school, did you ever see your mom dating at all, or was she?
Yeah, she dated a little bit. It's not the greatest people.
How did you take that? How did you take that? Like seeing your mom date, how did that affect you?
I don't think I took it seriously, really, because I didn't think she was taking it that serious either, and so I kind of just let it happen, I guess. I was always respectful, but I would also let her know my opinions in the background,
That young?
Yep.
Did y'all have that type of relationship where you guys literally were best friends, or was it a mother-daughter? What was that relationship?
I think it's a mix of both. I wouldn't necessarily say best friends, but like we were definitely close. Like I said, we were kind of like a 3 girls against the world type of situation. And we would definitely work off of that. If we didn't approve of something, we would let her know, and she wouldn't really do anything if we weren't happy, which was good. But she was also working a lot, so she wasn't necessarily around that much either.
Around, but not around.
Yeah. So like
what would you say would be your darkest moment in living in Japan? What was that moment where you just felt low? Did you ever have that moment, or was it?
Um, I mean, I definitely like just my whole time having to live so far away from like my friends and stuff. That was super shitty because I would be at home by myself sometimes or with my sister, and my mom wouldn't be home because she's working late. And then I don't have a friend's house I could just hop over to, you know. And so it's kind of like, wow, you know, this kind of sucks. Very minimal, but still at the time, it kind of sucked. And kind of felt like I raised myself a little bit back then, you know, because like we had a babysitter, but she wasn't like raising us necessarily, you know.
Would you say you're more like a lone wolf? That's kind of
Yeah.
amazing how you pretty much raised
Yeah.
yourself
Mm-hmm.
inside that household.
Right.
Did your
And
mom feel
so,
that? Did you ever have that moment where you talked to her like, "Hey, I feel like I'm raising myself," or?
I think we've talked about it like later in life, not in the moment necessarily.
Okay, so we're in high school. When do you select
Mm-hmm.
your college? Where do you go to college?
Well, so by the time it was time to select colleges, I really didn't have any kind of loyalties to specific states necessarily. Like I knew I was going to be in America, but I didn't really know where. You know, a lot of my friends like, oh, we go back to my home state, whatever. And I'm like, well, technically California would be that for me, but I haven't been in so long that I don't really. And the house that we had been living in, my mom sold it like halfway through our time in Japan, so we weren't technically residents of California anymore.
Right.
So I was considered an international student, I guess, at that point. So I could really do whatever. And I think it was junior year, my mom had bought a house in Hawaii. She was going to use it as her retirement house.
What's
Um,
this?
I'll get to it in a second. So I was like, so we had gone to Hawaii a couple times, junior year and then senior year. And I was like, okay, let me check out the Hawaii colleges. And so that's kind of how I ended up landing in Hawaii. But I say quote unquote retirement because when I got accepted and decided to go to Hawaii for school, my mom was like, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and move to Hawaii too. And so she moved my sister. She made the decision the summer before I came out to college, basically. And so she moved my sister at the end of the summer. So my sister was hella pissed because she couldn't say goodbye to like half her friends because they were all on vacation and stuff. And yeah, my mom likes to make some spontaneous decisions, and yeah. So I'm like, okay. I was looking forward to being able to travel back to Japan for breaks and stuff, but can't do that now, you know?
Well, what was the transition from Hawaii? Sometimes I feel like Hawaii is not really a big transition from
It's
Japan
not,
because it's kind of this, got the same, not the
it's,
same culture, but it's kind of similar.
yeah, which is kind of why I love it here. It was a good middle ground between Japan and America, basically. Not that Hawaii is not America, but because of the big Asian presence we have here and just all the different cultures. So, and I feel like there's the same amount of Black people almost, again, all on the military bases, basically. But still. And so it was an easier transition for me than going to like middle of America somewhere where I would like really not know, like culture shock again would
Do you
probably
feel
happen.
out of place when you're in mainland America?
Sometimes, depends on where I go. It's definitely like, okay, this is new. Like, I don't know. It takes me a second to like settle into how to act, I guess.
When's the last time you
Um,
felt like out of place? What state were you in?
um, let's see. Well, the last time I traveled, we were in Washington State and Oregon State. Um, and oh well, but it's like whenever I just don't see any Black people around, I'm like, this is or Asian people even, you know, if I don't see any Asian people around, I'm like confused. Um, and Because here I'm used to it. Like I see all different types of people. I see, Hawaiian people. I see Chinese people, whatever. They're all mixed anyways too.
Right.
So if I don't see a lot of Asian presence, then it's an adjustment for sure.
Do you find it unique as Black people? We always look for each other. Like we
Yeah.
gravitate towards
Mm-hmm.
towards each other. What was that like? How did your mom, being a white woman, how was she like able to talk to you about that, your Blackness? Had to be new for her.
Yeah. I don't know that she really did too much. Like,
she probably kind of escaped it being in Japan.
She really did. I think she got away with a lot. But again, like I said, one of her best friends is Black, and also I was in touch with my my father's sister throughout my life as well, and she's Black, obviously. So I had like some female Black energy in my life.
But what was that like? Because it's not about me. When I went back, a lot of people were telling me like they were trying to evaluate my Black experience, and I was like, no, I'm still Black. And it was just like, but you grew up in Japan and the Netherlands. It's like, yeah, so what?
Yeah,
still Black in those countries.
Right, exactly. Like I feel like it's like I feel Black, but I may not have gone through a lot of the stuff that other Black people have gone through on the mainland or in America. But I still feel like I'm still a Black person, like.
But I mean, like, what were they telling you? Like, how was your aunts telling you, like, this is,
I don't think no one really told me anything. I think I did a lot of research on my own about stuff. It was more just like talking to them, and well, honestly, is like my mom's best friend. It was really just like about my hair and like what I can do with it and making sure that shit was straight. That was my big like Black experience with.
Did your hair gravitate to your father's side?
Yeah.
Or your mother's side?
Oh yeah. No, my hair is Black.
What is your sister like?
She is, I think, the same. Yeah, we definitely got the Black hair genes for sure.
So we get to Hawaii, right? It's 2007, right? You graduated 2007. You get to Hawaii. Do you feel alone a little? Do you feel like a new experience because you have your mother there and you have your sister there?
Well, they were on a different island.
Okay, walk us.
So basically, when I got to college,
was it the Hawaii school with the green uniforms?
Yes, University of Hawaii, Manoa.
Oh, freak.
Mm-hmm. So when I first got here, I think we checked it out. My mom flew over and we checked out things, and then she booked a hotel room for me to stay at until the dorms opened. Because we had orientation, which was like a couple days before the dorms opened or something.
Okay.
And I was too young to book my own hotel room, right? So, and she didn't want to stay, I guess. So she's like, okay, I'm gonna drop you off and then good luck. So so the first couple days I spent in a hotel room. I actually met a couple of friends through a Facebook group before I came out to Hawaii, and that we're all kind of staying in hotels as well. And so we kind of grouped up and hung out, kept each other from being too lonely. And then we moved into the dorms a couple days later.
What did you study? What was your
I studied my major.
Your major? Why did I say bachelor's? Yeah, what was it?
I studied psychology.
If you hear fireworks going off, I live in Harlem, so it's just like random people just blowing off fireworks. That's why I'm just like, what?
Yeah, but we get that sometimes over here too.
They've been doing this since it's been like every
really?
quarantine. People just shooting off fireworks. I'm like, where are they getting these fireworks?
Yeah, I have no idea.
So all right, you're getting there, and you're inside your freshman year. You say it again. What are you studying? What's your major?
Psychology.
Psychology.
Yeah.
You really get into your credits like junior year, right? That's when you get to the main.
Basically, yeah.
So what was the first 2 years like? Was it fun? Were you like enjoying yourself? Did you ease your repugnance out of your body?
Freshman year, I was still. You know what? It was annoying that we had to that people had to get like fake IDs and stuff. Like I couldn't understand that. I was like, yo, I was at the bar like 2 weeks ago. I don't even know what the hell this is. Like, this is bullshit. I never got a fake ID, for the record. Okay. I wasn't gonna tarnish my record like that. I was like, look, you can get me alcohol if you want to, but I'm not getting a fake ID. So freshman year, yeah, I had that Roppongi lifestyle a little bit going, but I settled down later on, sophomore year probably. It was fun.
What's it like being a psychologist? What was it like with psychology?
It kind of sucked at my school because when I first got in, they had all these super cool classes you could take once you were like into the program, and then by the time I got into the program, they had like cut a lot of the fun classes, and it was more like research based by that time. And so I was able to take a few interesting classes. Like I took a class about serial killers, and
What?
that was fun. Like the psychology behind, serial killers.
Can I ask you a question, and don't give me a political answer. Do you think O.J. Simpson did it?
Yes. Yeah. I
don't think he did.
Are you sure though? I don't know. It seems
I think his son did it. There's a coroner report where the coroner, they asked him, he's really, and he said no old man could carry a woman like this. It was a young man that did it.
Oh, okay. I mean,
son was arrested. His son was arrested for domestic violence with a knife. The theory is that the son was really with Nicole, and he killed both of them.
Interesting.
You gotta think, look how old these football players are. Look how they move. They can't really move like that.
If he wanted to, I mean, you can do a lot of things.
Not that he was an old football player. That means he had to hold down two people.
That's true. I don't know. I mean, I actually didn't really even know about the OJ story until later in life, so I haven't researched as much as you, clearly.
No, I was just researching, and I was like, this doesn't sound right, and I just kept Googling, and I was like, I just find it amazing that everyone is intrigued with O.J. Simpson.
Right. Well, okay, the dude put out do you see that book, though? You've seen that book cover.
I understand, but he was...
Come on.
I understand it, but it was just like, everyone's making money off O.J. Simpson except O.J. Simpson. There's a movie about him. There's a documentary. Yeah. Everything's out. They got Oscar, get everything else. Y'all even give anything to OJ. And maybe I fell in love with him. Let me rephrase that. Maybe I started liking him after following on Twitter. He seems so sweet.
Hey, there's a lot of sweet people that have murdered people as well. So
right. Hey, Twitter world, yours truly. It's OJ. I'm like,
he's just trying to cover it up.
So you study as serial killers. What did you find unique about them, or what was...
I think what I liked about it is like every person has a reason why they got to for some serial killers, it really is like a chemical imbalance or something mentally is the issue. But there's also a lot of people where they got abused themselves or they, a lot of that. And so psychology in general, I like the topic just because I like to get to know people and why they are the way they are. And it helps you kind of learn how to be around people as well.
Does that prohibit, before you met your husband, how did that prohibit you from dating? Because were you always looking inside somebody's head the whole time?
I mean, I think it helped me, and hurt me, be a little bit more understanding with people, maybe sometimes too understanding, because it's like, okay, well, maybe they're like this because of something they're not telling me about, or I gotta like dig deeper and find out more about this person to see what's up. Sometimes people are just assholes,
You're like a case study. You're really like case study people.
Mm-hmm.
Did you consider that inside your practicum hours?
No, I didn't do anything specific like that. I'm not a PhD right now. I just did my bachelor. And I wanted to be a counselor for a while, but I kind of have switched gears. And so right now at my job, I do HR, kind of like what my mom did. But I like being able to help employees. and kind of be the person that they can go to if they have issues.
You are using your degree. You are.
Yeah, so it's just a different branch of psychology, basically.
So you graduate 2011?
No, so again, since I was an international kid, basically, I had to pay out of state tuition,
Jeez,
even though my mom had a house. Yeah, exactly.
Lord,
so my first year, my mom was like, okay, I'll help pay for this or whatever. And then the second year came around, she was like, nah, we're done with this, can't do it, sorry. And so I had to take a year. I kind of took a year off. They would allow you to take like 5 credits per semester. And then I had to work a full-time job and pay taxes to be considered a resident.
Those Hawaiian taxes are crazy.
Yeah, so I did that. So I'm behind a year of all my freshman classmates.
What was that like working your way through college? What was that like? Did you have a new appreciation for? I feel like people who are working in college, like when I was in college, the people that had jobs, they took school a whole lot more seriously.
Yeah, I definitely did. I mean, yeah, my freshman year, I, messed around and took it like whatever. And then once I was working and going to school, because even once I got my residency and it was a lot cheaper to go to school, I took student loans and, which I'm still paying off today. No. But that's a whole nother, but so I would be taking classes, and then after school I would go to work. And, it was rough. Like, you see these kids like just hanging out, doing whatever, and you're like, okay, gotta go to work, sorry. And it made me appreciate for sure my studies. I'm like, I cannot fail because I'm working way too hard for this,
Do you find that your life wasn't easy? Do you find yourself like working hard for everything? Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
Like nothing really comes easy to you. Everything comes at a price.
Yeah, I also don't get myself involved with things unless I can apply 100% of myself as well.
Walk me through that. What does that mean?
So, like, it's hard to say. Like, I don't want to, like, with my jobs, I always question myself. Like, I do kind of like a 1-year review. I'm like, okay, do I still like it here? Do I still think that I'm putting my best foot forward in this job? If I'm not, then we need to make a change. So with my current job, I started it when I was in a junior in high school, a junior in college. And after I graduated college, I think I was in the same position for about a year. And I was like, okay, this isn't really fulfilling me in my life anymore. I don't really, like, I got to make something change because I'm not really being my best person right now. Right. And so I asked them, I went to the office one day and I was like, look, I knew that they had one of the girls in the office quit maybe like 6 months prior. And so they had never filled the position. And so I was like, okay, let me ask them if they would be willing to, move me over to this department. And if not, then I'm going to quit and find something else. And so luckily they liked me enough and they took me on, and we didn't have technically an HR department at the time. So I've kind of built it myself.
It's like 8 years you've been there.
Yeah. I think it's like 7 or 8 now. Yeah.
Do you like it? Is it comfortable? Is it inside? You said tourism's down. So how does tourism affect your job?
Yes. So I work for a company within a company, basically. So the direct company I work for is a beach rental company, and we're on the property of a Hilton hotel, which is the largest Hilton, I think, in the world, actually, as far as like how many buildings we have. I think it was like 7 or 8 towers. So on a busy summer day, we would usually have maybe 1,000 plus guests staying there that we would see every single day. And right now, I think they're saying if they're going to reopen, they're only going to open 1 tower and that's going to be like 10-15% of what we would usually see, which is why. And then also, especially now, because we still have the 14-day quarantine, we really can't open because no one's going to be staying at the hotel, and then there's no point of even having people around. And with the social distancing issue, it's like we're so up in it with the guests. How do we social distance from someone that I have to actually physically be close to do things with? You know, and because of when it does get busier, if we're still in this social distancing situation, how do you keep sanitizing things over and over again?
Yeah.
With, you know, it's a lot of bleach we're going to be going through. So it's going to be a new world for sure when we get back to work.
Do you find yourself when you're on the job, like doing other jobs? Does that make sense? Like, what would you say?
Yeah.
If you had a time machine, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you talk to AD. Where did you get the nickname AD?
So my friend in middle school gave it to me. It kind of was like, oh, your name's too long. Let me shorten it for you.
Yeah.
That was basically, and so AD is the first two letters of my name. Right. And it sounded decent. And then I had another friend that spelled it out. So I use both versions. So there's a A.D or there's AYDEE, which both ways work.
So if you had a time machine, right? Time
Mm-hmm.
machine, and you could talk to AD at 17, what would you tell her?
17. I was in high school. Oh.
About the future you. What would you tell him about the future you?
Well, is this, would you say junior or senior year of high school?
You pick.
Okay.
We'll say senior year. You're about to make a big change in your life.
Well, you know, I think senior year, I actually was very well prepared for whatever was going to come. I kind of had like an attitude switch that I made. And up until senior year, I was kind of played it in the back, like low key, didn't speak up much. Didn't feel like I really,
submissive.
Didn't really feel like I had a voice because of, you know, economic position I was in, you know, considering the students I was around and how they live their lives and how I had to live mine, you know. And so senior year, I was like, you know what, I'm about to leave. I'm probably never going to see any of y'all again. Here's my opinions about everybody, kind of a thing. And I was like, I'm not going to live scared anymore, and just kind of enjoy myself out loud. If you like it, come join me. If you don't like it, I don't really care. So
did you feel that sense of shame? Did you feel the shame just because of the socioeconomic background? Like, how would you explain that type of shame that you felt?
I think it was partially. I mean, we were, like I said, we weren't like poor or anything. Like, if you worked in Japan, you were getting paid enough. Like, you're getting paid a lot. So my mom, we were good, but like comparatively to the other people, you could see the difference. You could feel the difference, and like people would click up with that, and like they would, you know, we were a smaller school, and so you could actually feel the difference. Like, okay, these kids are not inviting you to those things, and they're not trying to talk to you. Or we would have, you know, even there was like 5 Black people in our whole school.
Yeah, I saw.
You know what I'm saying? So like you could feel, and so people felt that comfort to kind of do things or say things that they wouldn't be doing if we had a lot more Black people around.
Now, well, let's get, that's where I was getting at. Like, yeah. What? Give an example.
Well, I mean, definitely I heard people, you know, use the N-word. Not like in a, well, not in a derogatory way, like calling each other like, what's up, you know, kind of a thing. And I'm like, I'm sorry, who gave you the liberty to say this? I didn't think I approved that one there, sir. But they didn't care, because what are we gonna do? Like, you know. And so there was like, we had themed lunches sometimes at school, and there would be fried chicken, Thursday or whatever. And so me and my best friend now too, she's Black, and so we would always, get our fried chicken, and they'd be like, oh, so I know you guys love your fried chicken, like kind of bullshit, stuff like that.
Wow.
And we're like, again, and my friend is even quieter than me, so it's like, we weren't gonna say anything. And it's like, if you do, now you're the angry Black girl, and so I kind of stopped caring about all of that stuff my senior year. I was like, you know what, you think I'm the angry Black girl, then you're gonna see it. And I'm not gonna see you ever again anyways, so I don't care.
How did that confidence feel though? You feel like they respected you more after that?
I maybe a few, I think so. I mean, like I said, I didn't care too much about it. I stopped letting myself get upset about things, so that was a freedom that I felt for sure. And I think that I could definitely tell a difference towards the end of senior year, how some of the people were around me. They're kind of put some respect on my name a little bit,
Heard, man.
that was nice,
I really find, I was talking to this person about Black trauma. And it's, when I say the trauma, I'm talking about, it's a numbness that some Black people grow up and they're just so numb to the things that they experience.
Right.
They accept it. Not accept
Exactly.
it, but like when George Floyd got killed, a lot of people just like, yeah, we see this all the time.
Yeah. Which is
like a lot of people are
horrible.
getting killed,
Yeah.
like we see it all the time, especially being in different places. So it's a pro and a con. The pro is that other people who probably grew up with you that probably never knew that you felt this way are probably out there marching,
Right.
And I really think go ahead. I think like little kids are more open to like what's going on. Because a lot of the kids, like in New York, all the people that are on the front lines are white, Asian, Hispanic, everything else. And they're just like, they got Black friends. They're standing up for Black people.
Yeah. It's been nice, like, seeing that too, for sure. Like some of my classmates that are white or Asian or whatever, speaking out. But then you still got the other side of it too. The people that haven't said anything and are like, a lot of my classmates went on to being very in very high jobs and high paying jobs and are very, elite almost, you would say. And so their voices would help a lot.
Right.
But
I think their silence says it all. Mm-hmm. Your silence says everything. A lot of people have been silent on the issue.
Yeah.
Now it's like my job. We did a culture thing where we had to talk about white supremacy, and I'm just like,
oh Lord.
And I get they're trying. I understand they're trying to tackle the issue, but it's just like, you guys aren't ready for about the Black experience. Like when I was telling these girls, like, you had a gun pulled on you, a cop. I'm like, I live in the South. Yes. When I moved to New York, I was very shocked at the way people spoke to police officers here. I was very shocked, like, wow, these guys like really say whatever they want to cops, and they're not fearful.
Yeah.
So I was very shocked. Like when I got here, I think I remember one time. Not, I think I remember. I got back. I was in Cuba, and the next day I went from Cuba. I got back. It's like 6:00 in the morning. I was driving my dad's van. And like 7 police cars pulled me over.
Wow.
And they're like, I'm driving this massive van. They're like, the taillight's out. I know it's not out, but like, they're not going to believe when I tell them, like, can you tell us where you were yesterday? I was like, in Cuba.
Yeah. Good job. Yeah.
Kind of like, this guy being funny with us or anything else? I said, I know it's going to be hard to believe, but last night I was in Cuba. Mm-hmm. You're like, all right, let me just get your life.
Right, yeah, nope, sorry. Ain't gonna believe that one.
And then the Black dude walks up and goes, hey, yeah, you were in Cuba. When they gave me a warning, but the whole time you can tell the cop was very amazed, because as soon as he saw me, I took my hat off, put my hands 10 and 2, I put everything in the dashboard, and he was kind of surprised, like, why did you do all this? I was like, I'm just making it easier on you. I know it's early in the morning, da-da-da-da, and I talked myself out of tickets.
Right.
I know those people who didn't grow up like me, knowing that, like, why should I do that?
Yeah, exactly.
And really, you shouldn't. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
really, you
shouldn't have to.
But there's going to be a time where you guys have your kids. You got to talk to your kid about that.
Yeah, exactly. And that's that's another thing. I'm like, okay, you know, I know that I came out kind of dark, and I'm married to a white guy. So what if we have a kid? It could go either way. It could be
Yeah, you
it
got
could be
one
like a
white girl and
super
one
white.
white.
Yeah, you know, it could be a super white kid, or it could be a white kid that has black hair, or it could be a darker, like a lighter skin, but like what's light, what's dark enough to pass for black. You know, we're gonna
Corbin
have to
Blue.
see. Or it could be blue. You know.
No, Corbin Blue. Remember that dude?
Oh yeah, yeah.
To the
Mhm.
limit.
Yep.
There's
Yeah.
a minute.
But he still looks like a black kid though. But he's light skinned, but like you could tell.
Yeah, when he started jumping rope, I was like, maybe he's not from around here. Walk me through the first time you met your husband. Like, where did you guys meet?
We met when I went
somewhere and he picked it up.
No, we worked at the same job. When I was in college, we worked at Dave and Buster's. Super cool place to hang out. Yeah, but we were in different departments, but our departments worked like side by side, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes they would, when we were short on my end, they would ask someone from his department to cover us and to help out. And so we kind of got to know each other that way. And then, yeah, so.
Walk me through like what happened. Like, what did John say? He's like, you know, can a player from the Noya get a chance with it, or what did he say?
Well, you know, we were just hanging out like friends. We really got to know each other as friends only. And then I think like we would like hang out after work and drink and, you know, chill. And he, like, I think we like had a spark one night kind of a thing. And then so technically he was still with a girlfriend at the time, but he didn't tell me, right? I know. But he was like in
stuff right here.
serious. So, but he was like, they were broken up, but she was around still. And so he didn't want her to find out that he was hanging out with me. And so he wouldn't ever let me come over to his house. and I didn't know why, because he wouldn't tell me, right? And so I started getting pissed off. I'm like, this is, you know, what the hell? Like, why can't we hang out outside of work, you know? And then, so we weren't really dating at that point. I was kind of still dating around. And then maybe like 6 months later, we hung out again. And finally he let me come over to his house. And then we just like hung out for like a couple days straight. And then we're like, okay,
you didn't leave.
I left. And then he asked me to come back the next day. So, you know, and then, yeah, so that kind of started our thing, I guess.
How long did you guys date before you got engaged?
I think it was like 6 years.
Oh, that's pretty long. Well, who am I to talk? I did 8.
Yeah, you're pretty long too. So.
What's
wrong with you boys out here? Damn.
I did 7 the day before my 7 years.
Yeah, I told him like we had already moved in together. We've been living together for maybe a year. And then I was like, look, like we've already been together for like 5 years at this point. You know, if we're not locking this down by the end of, I can't remember which year it was, or whatever year I got engaged. So if we're not locking it down by the end of this year, then I'm gonna have a problem.
You gave him
basically what I did. I was like, look, I'm gonna give you a whole year, okay? But you know, I mean, I wouldn't have necessarily broken up with him, I don't think. But he's the type of person that needs a little extra push. Okay, so
how did he know to get the right ring? I feel like guys are so misguided on getting rings.
Yeah, he told me that he got one, but it wasn't in my size. And so then he exchanged it for something totally different, but they had it in my size.
But where did he propose to you at? What was your proposal story? My
proposal story? Oh, Lord. So he proposed to me on Christmas Day.
Oh.
It was funny, though, because like I had to go to work. So what we usually do is, because in the tourist business, we are open 365, you know. So I had to go to work, but my boss always lets me like do presents in the morning, and then I can come in a couple hours later. Right. So we have my mom on FaceTime. My sister actually lives with me, by the way. And so she's here.
You got a daughter already.
Yeah, that's why I don't have kids, because I have one already. So, so we're doing presents, and then there's this one big present left that I'm supposed to wait to the end to open or whatever. And so I get to it, and then it's like I open the box, and there's like he put a whole bunch of crap in it, like random stuff from around the house, like dish towels and stuff. I'm like, what the fuck? Okay. And then there's like another box inside of that, and like he did like the box within the box within the box thing, but it was like not. I'm like, you needed to like replan this. This is messy. Okay, whatever. So I finally get to this last box, and then I can't open it because it's like a wooden box and it's like stuck. And so I finally like jam it open, and then there's this paper bag from Macy's in it, and then it has like the little ring box inside. And then I look up, and let me set the scene. So I had bought him a Snuggie that year. Okay, so he's wearing a Spider-Man Snuggie. And he's wearing this elf like hat that like jingles and stuff. So he's on his knee in front of me, and there's like paper from like the presents prior that we hadn't thrown away yet, like scattered on the ground. And he's like, and then I look up, I open the ring, and I'm like, oh my God, like I know, obviously I know what this is. And he's like looking at me like a puppy dog, like so freaked out. I'm like, I asked for this, so I don't know why you're so freaked out. Like, it's gonna be yes, don't worry. But yeah, and then my freaking sister takes one photo, okay, and it's like the crappiest photo. Like, he looks like a deer in headlights, and I'm just like, have this weird face. I'm like, you took one picture, really? Like,
nobody recorded it.
Nobody recorded it. We got one shitty photo that will never see the light of day. Okay, I'm like, you're a Gen Z millennial, like you should know better. This is some bullshit.
Set up your own cameras.
I mean, seriously. So, but yeah, it was sweet. And then I had to go to work. I'm like, okay, well, all right, thank you. See you later.
The wedding looked amazing.
It was nice. It
was a great wedding.
I would say so. We drank out the bar. They didn't order enough alcohol, apparently. So we got kicked out basically because they ran out of alcohol. So my friends are crazy. I'll say that.
How many were in your guest list?
We kept it pretty small. We just had and also it was in Hawaii, so not a lot of people could travel. But we had, I think, like 55 or 60 people altogether.
It's not bad. It's a nice.
Yeah, it was it wasn't too small, but it wasn't too big that I felt like I felt like I could interact with everybody.
What would you say the toughest part of marriage and like the sweetest part of marriage is? If you're giving it to any newlyweds or people that are about to get married,
I think it really depends on how long you've known the person before you get married. Because we were able to get through a lot of stuff before getting married. We'd already lived together for a while, so I was used to that. That wasn't an issue. And we worked together, so we were pretty close. So it didn't really change much, I guess I would say, for me.
NASCAR couple a little bit. Everybody works in the pit together.
Yeah. So right now it's more like, okay, what does our future look like? Like because you don't really talk about that too much. So we're like, especially here and now with COVID, it's like, who knows what our future is going to look like for anybody, right?
Is he younger than you?
No, he's older.
Oh.
Yeah. So, but like our maturity level is like, I'm more mature than him. So it works out, I guess.
Do you want kids or no?
I do, but I think I want 2 kids, but I haven't decided if I want them to be close in age or not. Like how close in age, Like I don't think I could be that person that's like, oh, I have a baby and then 9 months later I have another baby. That's too much.
At least you get them all out the way at one time.
Yeah, but that's a lot of baby at once,
Then you're done.
But I definitely want them close enough, not too far apart. Like I don't want like a 10-year-old and then a baby. Like that's kind of weird. Like there are people out there that like they have kids.
Got 17-year-olds and then have a little.
Like, Yeah, that's a lot.
Start it back over again, folks.
It's a bit much.
Watch Star Wars all over again.
Right? Yeah. So, but I also have always thought about adopting kids too. So we'll see.
Okay, so we reached to the point where these are called the hilltop questions, right? These are the last
Okay.
questions before we let you go. You can answer
All
these
right.
questions. It could be long, it could be short. However you answer them, you can answer them, right?
All right.
All right.
Okay.
Question number 1. Do you believe in God?
That's a good question. I do and I don't. I don't know. I think being around a lot of different religions when I was younger makes me question is there really just one God? Is there I love Hawaii and Hawaiian culture where you have a goddess of the volcanoes, goddess of fire, goddess of this and that, and that's what they really truly believe in. And who am I to say that they're wrong by saying there's only one God, or is it all connected? I don't know. I like to be open with it, I guess.
Have you ever read the Bible before?
I have. I mean, my mom raised me Christian, so I haven't read the whole thing, but I definitely went to Sunday school. And
Sunday school.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite person in the Bible?
No, I don't.
Favorite verse?
No. I was never really into that kind of stuff. Not
Okay.
really. Mm-mm.
Okay, here's our next question. When's the last time you had a nightmare?
Well, I watch a lot of scary movies, so probably a couple days ago. Yeah, Japan really messed me up. I'm gonna say I love
Scary stuff, right?
Huh?
A lot of scary movies out there.
Yeah, they do scary movies well, and they traumatize you with that shit for real. But I love scary movies because of it. But so I always have dreams about the girl from The Ring.
Yep.
I have dreams about that. Yeah. Really? Mm-hmm. Yep. It's not good.
You wake up. What do you wake up screaming or what?
Once in a while, I'll be running away and then trying to scream myself awake almost.
Wow.
But not I'm not even, because I know it's fake, because I watch enough of these movies. I know it's fake, but I'm really just trying to mentally wake myself up by vocalizing it, I guess.
When's the last time you had a panic attack?
It's been a while, and I remember it, but I don't remember why I had a panic attack. But it's been a while. I've been okay lately.
Do you believe in soulmates?
I do somewhat. I think you can have multiple soulmates, but I also believe that you can have soulmates that are your friends as well.
Oh.
Yeah. Because, there's, people, like I said, I mean, maybe, and that might be part of living overseas and having connections with people, having those really deep connections with people, where it's you cannot talk to them for 10 years or whatever, and then you start a conversation and it's nothing happened. It's a day hasn't gone by. So.
Well, I didn't think about it like that.
Yeah.
Okay, what do you think happens when you die?
Ooh, that's a good one. I don't want to say that it's just black and then it's done, story over. You know what I mean? I like the idea of reincarnation as well. I really do. But then it's I think I want to come back as a person. But why are you laughing? But it's do you remember stuff from your past life? Some people say you do, right? And
right.
But what stuff? I don't think people. I don't know. It's who's to say? When we die, we'll find out. I guess.
Okay, these are the last questions. This question is a series of questions, right? So I'm going to ask you this question multiple times, and your answer needs to change. It's called Who Are You? So every time I ask Who Are You, the goal is to go beyond yourself.
Oh Lord.
So here, I'll do a demo. Every time I point, you just say Who Are You? Ready?
Okay. Who are you?
Jared Waters.
Who are you?
Two-time wrestling champ.
Who are you?
That's how it goes.
Okay.
Right? You go beyond yourself.
Okay.
All right, you ready? Who are you?
Adrienne Southwell.
Who are you?
I'm a HR admin.
Who are you?
I'm an artist.
Who are you?
I'm a dreamer.
Who are you?
I'm optimistic.
Who are you?
I'm an animal lover.
Who are you?
I'm a strong Black woman.
Who are you?
I don't know what else to say. Oh my God.
And it's okay not to know the answers. When we do this again,
Yeah.
we'll probably have a whole lot more answers.
Yeah.
When it's all said and done, if you had to give your book to somebody, what would you want people to say about you?
I would want to say that I was compassionate with people, and I always tried my best to be in their corner, and I was loyal, and I stood up for what I believe in.
How can people find your artwork? Where can people get it? Do you have a website?
Well, oh yeah, can I shamelessly plug things now?
Right, plug everything. Plug the streets.
Okay, well, I say artist, but I make jewelry.
Ooh.
So you can find me on Instagram, Aydeebysea. So the AD is the AYDEE version.
Okay.
And also I have my own podcast. Hey,
podcast.
Quarantine Podcasters, shout out. It's actually technically that's false because my friend wanted us to start a podcast in like February, and then quarantine just gave us the time to do it, basically.
Come on now.
But so our podcast is called Booze and Bullshit, which is what we do. So we get a little tipsy and we it's kind of fun. We both find like a crazy story that happened in the news at some point at some time, and then we don't tell each other what the story is before we go on. And so so far we haven't had the same story yet, so knock on wood. We're pretty lucky.
I don't think this is smart.
Yeah. So yeah, and you post a lot more podcasts than we do, though. We do it like once a week only.
I'm by myself, so I can shoot them out. You know what I mean?
That's true.
I'm by myself. I shoot them out. I can shoot out twice a week if I do. But I got, I'm working on like promotion more. But I have another podcast with one of my friends. His name is Lito. We do one called Which Way Is Up. But it's like, bro, it's on hiatus, whenever we do it. And I was like, I'd rather just bet on myself,
Right.
And as my thing is like a time capsule of emotions. So like if someone found this, they're like, oh, what was AD like on June 19th, 2020? What was their emotions like?
Yeah.
And I was like, it's just a time capsule. So if my kids have this, I'm like, here, you want to know what your dad was like? Listen to this.
That's cool, though. I got to listen to more episodes. You keep knocking them out, and I'm not caught up yet.
33. Well, I think I'm 36. I don't know. We're on a lot.
Yeah,
ladies and gentlemen, this is Adrienne. Make sure you follow her and buy the jewelry. Buy the jewelry.
Yeah.
Have a wonderful night.
Hey, you're live on the podcast, One Man, One Tree in the Hill. Say what up to the people. Now, this is when I see Black excellence. It's Kenan Thompson, and I see this giant butt. I'm like, oh, who is that? Turns out it's Questlove. It's Dave Chappelle, Chris Rock, Eddie Murphy, and they're all sitting at the table, and I walk up to Eddie Murphy, and I was like, hey, Mr. Murphy, I just want to say you're the GOAT, man. And you're the coldest that ever walked the face of the earth. You gotta break that thing over. She wants it private, but y'all not even together right now.
So we haven't spoken about anything but the cat for at least 2 months.
And then I said, and I'm be the next Jamar Neighbors. Yeah. And she was up like, I know that's right.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to the podcast. My name is Jared Waters, and I'll catch you next time. Like, subscribe, rate the podcast. Have a wonderful night, wonderful day, whatever you're listening to. I'll see you soon.